First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me. Blow.
Hey, you got 3 seconds for it.
I'm gonna amp this baby up, see how it sounds.
This is the fakeshemp.net podcast. My name is Glenn. Thank you for listening. And with me, beside me as always, is
Jarrett.
How you going?
Good, sir. And yourself? How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. We're joined again with some guests. Let's introduce them. We've got Addison Heath here. How you going, Addison?
I'm well, thank you. And it's good to hear you guys are well. With me, I've got Aston Elliot.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks guys. Thanks for having us.
And I've got Jasmine Jakupi, who's the producer and did the effects for Under a Kaleidoscope. Aston's from Under a Kaleidoscope and Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I don't know if you've noticed, but every episode we've done so far, we have mentioned the films, both of them, and we're big fans. So to have you guys in here is a big treat for us. So, and look, Aston's come a long way, so we're feeling pretty chuffed about that.
Yeah, totally, thanks.
We're really happy to be involved.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to just quickly have a brush up on what we've been doing since the last episode. Jarrett, my man, what have you been up to? Have you seen anything good?
Well, I haven't watched Jersey Boys this week, but I understand that you've watched it multiple times.
I love Jersey Boys.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice in a week.
Excellent.
It actually is going to be in my top 10 of the year.
I sense that. Yeah. I've seen a few films.
You've got some reservation in your voice.
No, well, look, I just, Clint Eastwood. I don't know if I've really loved one film that he's directed. I've loved films that he's acted in, but I don't know if I've loved the film.
I'm looking at Addison, we're a bit shocked.
No.
Not even like Gran Torino.
No. I try, but, I can appreciate it.
All this time you've been next to me over these weeks.
Yeah, there you go. Now, it's about Jersey Boys, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's I've watched it twice. What have you watched? Anything cool?
I watched a lot of movies in the past. We went to the movies 4 times, and I can't really
This guy's
remember
always at the movies. If you ever
saw.
followed him on Facebook, it's like he's always checked in at Hoyt's or
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
I saw the new Hunger Games movie.
Hunger Games. And?
Yeah, it was good. For what it is.
Yeah.
It's good. For what it
Was it stretched out? Because it's part 1
Yeah,
or
no,
2.
look, I think they spent a lot of time sort of developing the characters, and I think it was good. I was immersed for the whole 120 odd minutes it went for. It's the shortest of the 3
Immersed.
thus far. I was completely immersed
Really?
in it. Yeah, surprisingly so. And again, without spoiling anything, this one does end on a cliffhanging note, and you're like, really? Oh, now it's going to be another year before.
Are we all fans of Hunger Games? Is this-
I've yet to see it. I'm yet to see it. I do want to see it though. Every time I see a trailer for it, I think it looks super cool. I just haven't ever gotten around to
Surprisingly
watching it yet.
good.
You're not one of those snobs that looks at the concept and goes, "Oh, battle royale." Or,
Look, I was when I first.
Yeah.
So, but that, to me, that's a good thing. Like if a movie wants to be, or if something's going to be a little bit like battle royale, then I'm happy for that. I'll get behind that. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. So, anything else? What else? 4 movies?
I saw Whiplash.
Which I haven't seen that.
That was good. And I saw Let's Be Cops, which wasn't so good.
Yeah, I've seen the posters around.
It was
and
funny,
The
but it
poster
wasn't
looks like the
great.
funniest thing about the movie.
Yeah, it wasn't terrific. And then there was a John Wick.
John Wick, of course.
Yeah.
Who the director was, came up underneath Albert Pune.
There's actually 2 directors, funnily enough.
Yeah.
A director and a producer, but only one of them could take the directing credit.
Yep.
So one agreed to be the producer and the other
And
the
both
director.
come from
background.
stuntmen background.
And you watch this movie and it's literally just super well choreographed action sequences.
Cool.
Headshot upon headshot upon headshot. I've never seen that many people shot in the head.
Oh, really?
It's insane. Very little semblance of a story, but it was action aplenty. And
how's
it was
Keanu
good
in
movie.
that one?
He's great. Look, this is the thing. The guy doesn't look that old. He's got the beard. Apparently he's rocking about 50. To me, he doesn't look like 10 years older than he was Johnny Utah.
Yeah, well,
Great. He looks young, and he's still...
those rumours abound
Great.
about Bill and Ted 3, He'd still fit the profile.
I would love it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, if
I
it's
love
done
Keanu,
number 2,
man.
do
Heaps of time for him.
Where would you take number 3? I mean,
That's
yeah.
You got to go forward now.
Time travel? There's always been time travel, but they went to hell in the second one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think the
Heaps of
future...
opportunities for that.
Okay.
Heaps of opportunities for that, I think. Yeah.
Interdimensional, maybe.
Yeah.
knows?
Absolutely. Hey, that's I'd watch that.
Maybe they can go back into Keanu Reeves' Dog Star era.
Yes.
Do something about that.
Or go back in time.
Maybe delete Keanu Reeves movies from about 95 to the
Or
early
go back in
2000s.
time and figure out what happened to Alex Winter.
Yes.
Yeah. he ended up directing Ben 10 movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
How
He
weird
did
is that?
voice tell it for a bit on
Yeah.
animated stuff, but he is a director.
And he popped up in that documentary, didn't he?
The Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
Was
okay,
he
yeah.
there like for a split second?
He was actually fairly prominent right through it, but
yeah.
he was very he popped up for a split second in the canon mythology,
Right,
the canon chronologically. But he was in Death Wish 3, was it?
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, he had a lot to say about canon, but actually wasn't that involved with canon. So
Right. Yeah.
He also directed a documentary that played at MIF a couple of years back. I think it was called Downloaded or something, and it was basically about digital music theft and Napster and that. Really good documentary.
which never saw the light of day, obviously.
I don't. Well, I
other
think
than festivals.
that's documentaries for you here though. They're
That's
hard
true.
to sell for rental or retail, unfortunately.
That is very disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I would like to just quickly jump in and start talking about what these people have brought to the table. And let's start with Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, because there is no secret that it was my favourite film of last year, even though technically it's released this year.
But you're right. It's still it's on IMDb. It's 2013.
Yeah. And it was my favourite film. It was completely, it just blew me away. It was unexpected what I got from it, and the performances are all really strong. But tell the listeners about it. Like, firstly, what's it about, and where did it come from?
Really, where it came from was me and Stu had been trying to get films happening for a little while. We were trying to get producers involved and trying to sort of do something with a bit of a budget, instead of doing it out of your own pocket. And we were doing that for about a year and just keep getting rejected, and we would have it looked like it was going to go somewhere, and then it would fall through. And it sort of just kept coming. We had these bigger ideas, revenge films and things we wanted to do. Got to the point of just being frustrated and being like, okay, what do we have access to? Well, we knew we had access to Glenn Maynard, who, before Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, really had done some bit parts and smaller things, but we knew, at least me and Stu both knew that he was brilliant, and we had to do something with him. We had to put him at the front of something because we thought people would love to see him in a film. So it came from, we knew we had we knew we had Glenn. Me and Stu were both involved. We thought, let's just try to do something we can do that comes out of our own pocket. And a lot of things people talk about is, the film did cost about $10,000, but $3,000 of those dollars went to the Mr. Whippy van.
That's an awesome story.
So that's kind of awesome, like the fact that the film was really done as like a labour of love, and it was done out of being frustrated with not being able to, just waiting to try to get a producer to get a ball right. And then once a ball starts rolling, it never ends.
Yeah.
So we just went, no, let's just do something that we want to. And it sort of initiated with an idea that me and Glenn Maynard had a chat about, which was the idea of sort of designing a film that sort of builds to an act of violence rather than being a film that could be violent throughout and, you could keep it going. It was more a film that sort of focused on somebody's turn to violence as a way to keep it cheaper. It's keeping the effects down, it's keeping those things down, but still getting to do, like, me and Stu both like that sort of stuff in film. We like a bit of violence, we like shooting violence. So, it was to just scale it all back.
But having said that, like that slow burn moving towards the violence, at the same time, there's so much humour all throughout, and it's just enthralling all the way. I mean, you can kind of see the descent, but the build-up is really sort of slowly extracted.
Well, that's where the fun, I think that's where heaps of the fun comes into it. You can start to make it a comedic movie. I mean, that was, we wanted to make sure that it was a movie that could pack an emotional punch, but could also make people laugh. Like, we certainly, comedy was, it started as, let's make a comedy. Yeah. And then progressed to, we can probably do something even sort of deeper with this. And once we started really figuring out what the character would be about, we learned, like, there can be a whole lot about that character that's funny, but with everything that's funny, there's something that's not funny and sad and deep, and, you can relate to it in, however you can, or however you want to do it. It started as, let's make a comedy, sort of slowly turned into more of a dramatic piece, but trying to just keep that all together. And,
sure. Yeah. And what about the casting of the film? It's an incredible cast. How did the casting come together, other than Glenn, obviously, that you mentioned?
Actually, Rocco was written for Aston. We'd already auditioned Aston for another film, the film we were trying to make with some money.
Yeah.
Prior to that, and he came in, and we just we loved the audition, and then as soon as we were writing the film, we were like, well, we've got to write it for him. Because we'd already told you that, we want you to be in this film, and then it didn't come about. So we were like, well, first person we go to when we want a villain is Aston. He's the
Certainly.
guy.
Oh, what a performance too. I mean, that is a really understated performance because Glenn steals the show in many regards, but then you've got this amazing performance underneath that, which counteracts against Glenn's performance, and I saw it with an international audience. I went to America and saw it, and your character Aston just blew them away. The comical elements of it, and I don't think they ever heard the C-bomb dropped quite so much. And in fact, I don't remember it being that dominant in the original cut I saw.
Oh, I think it always was.
It was. Well, maybe it was the fact I was with another audience. It was a bit more, reserved.
It gets them a lot, but
it does. Yeah, especially that there's this one scene in question where I think he says it about 6 times, which is pretty polarizing for one segment of a film. But it's great. I think it's honest, and I think that's the way he talks. So
I think you're right though. I think the first cut had less in it, and I'm not exactly sure where the differences are. But absolutely, I've never said it so many times before in my life. And it's weird because you think, and at the end of it, I think I even said at the end of it, like I'm done. Like I've spent them all. I don't need to say it ever again in my life. Yeah. Then you're in traffic.
And then the next film comes along.
That's it.
But what I want to know, there's a fantastic scene which got a lot of laughs where you scoff an entire ice cream cone. Vanilla. You know what I'm talking about. Were there any ice cream headaches? Was there brain freeze?
That was and I don't know that we ever, and I don't think it ended up in the. We got some behind the scenes stuff that I think is on the DVD that they're releasing, but I'm not sure that we got much from that. But there should be an enormous amount because, as it turned out, and the very next day I was in the dentist chair having a tooth filled that I discovered that was an issue while we filmed the scene.
What a time to discover that.
So the initial plan was exactly hand him an ice cream and just smash it in one hit as hard as you can. But what I discovered as soon as I took one bite of the ice cream, it went straight into the tooth. And I'm spitting ice cream on the ground, and we're cutting and starting again. So it actually made it fairly difficult scene to shoot, including cleaning up bits of ice cream.
And you probably inadvertently, broke your quota of C-bombs when you did that.
It was done in a few different ways. Obviously, the first hit is a full ice cream, and then we sort of started using a stunt ice cream or whatever.
Right.
Just a tiny bit of ice cream on the top, just so you can see it, but it's mostly an ice cream cone because you were living in hell that day.
It was really painful. But we did. We had to hollow out ice cream, so it was just like a veneer of an ice cream on the front, so it looked like I was
Stilly.
And I think we went through about 6 separate ice creams, many different tastes.
Didn't contemplate marshmallow or
it's cheap, man.
Came with the $3,000 Mr. Whitney bag. It was only way to try and make money back.
We're paying $3,000.
We're eating some ice cream.
We're going to eat that ice cream.
And did you ever get real people come up wanting to buy ice cream?
Yeah.
Actually, it was one thing that didn't end up in the film was really fun to watch. Is Stu had a few kids come up to get an ice cream. And we told him straight, it's a movie. And she was like, hang on a second though. You want to be in the film? Just come up and just buy an ice cream off him. Do whatever you want. And he filmed it. It's just like kind of nice little moment. It's really natural, but it didn't really fit.
Right.
Just the film, but it's cool. We did have that,
Fantastic. Oh, wow. And in regards to Stu, this is a departure from his first 2 films in quite a big way. Yeah. Was he apprehensive going into it, or he's looking for the challenge?
Nah, he was completely on board. That was sort of the point, that it would be a film that would be different. That I remember Stu said pretty early on into it that, previously he'd been able to throw effects in things if he ever felt like something was sort of slowing down. You can chuck a gory moment in there, and this film just couldn't do like that. So it made it, in a way, a challenge. A good challenge for him, and he was way on board.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And in regards to Rocco's character, Aston, did you have to dig deep to find Rocco?
Well, no, not even close, unfortunately. Like half of them are mine as well. So it was sad. Like when we were, I went around to Stu's to try on some gear that he'd bought in op shops and things like that, and standing in the mirror at Stu's place at the time, looking at myself and realising that Rocco and I didn't dress very differently. Slightly different tracksuit pants, But no, unfortunately. Hopefully we're not completely the same
Oh,
kind
nothing
of thing.
like this guy, but yeah.
No, I actually, you might not remember, I met you in the bar after the premiere, and you came up to me and you shook my hand, and I remember thinking, who is that guy? And then I realised, shit, that's Rocco.
Yeah.
Like, what a gentleman. Like, you know.
I made a point of getting to know Glenn's partner and his sister and brother who came to the first screening before the film started.
Yeah.
Fiona came up to me afterwards and said, just as well, you were a nice guy. 10 minutes before this movie started because I love my brother.
Yeah.
I saw the film recently with Glenn in America, and Glenn had somebody come up to him, an old man, and he wanted to know how the fuck you smashed Aston's brains and how that was achieved. Can you tell us how that brain effect was? Because that's the really pivotal, violent moment of the film.
Yeah.
How was that done?
Basically it was done. It's a kind of a combination of practical and fake head. And Stu has we had a fake head down there that we could really smash. And then Stu's sort of digitally enhanced it so you can use parts of Aston's real face on the fake head, so you can have a little bit of movement in the eyes and things like that that still give it some sort of life or whatever. But yeah, it's just sort of a combination.
And was there something about mashed bananas in there?
Yeah, there was. That's Nick's go-to.
Nice.
Yeah, I think mashed bananas and
that's a good to know kind of trick.
Yeah. Nah, Nick who did the effects for it is brilliant.
He is amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
You worked on Rocco Aston as well.
Yeah, we
I recommend anyone look him up sort of online, and
definitely.
He's got lots of photos of his productions. He's worked with Stu a fair bit, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And he also worked on Dying Breed.
Dying Breed, really?
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
That is a really,
great.
really full-on graphic movie.
Yeah, he worked on that. I think he may have assisted with the Bear Trap.
Right.
Bear Trap.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
And the film itself is released on Blu-ray and DVD through Monster. It's already out in the UK, I believe. It's already on a lot of torrent sites and whatnot,
it
I
is.
believe. Would you like to address that, Addison?
Well, I've definitely addressed that quite a lot on Twitter recently with
Full-on Twitter war, mate.
Yeah, a bit of Twitter war. No, I just feel like if I can't do anything to stop them, I can at least tell them that I think they're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll do it. Like, they're going to pirate it. The issue I've got is when people are putting... My issue is how people can get away with it on Twitter, just putting a direct link to where you watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can be... I don't know how that can continue to happen, and I feel like it is... I keep reporting these stats, and nothing's being done about it. So I just started getting...
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating, but I thought... It's kind of funny to get in arguments with them. Like, I know how stupid it looks on my behalf, but it's a laugh for me.
There's not really any defence for it, but they will go at it like hammer and tongs to try and find a defence, you know,
exactly,
and that's what's hilarious. And I mean, the frustrating thing is this is independent filmmaking, you know, there's no money being made. And if you deny any kind of revenue, you know, it's a piece of shit up, you know, piece of work. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, particularly when it comes to these independent films, and people literally tend to get the torrent up there about a week before its shelf date, so it's like you don't even get the advantage of getting it out there and letting people rent it or buy it. They've got it there a week prior. It's a travesty. And this film, because it's stunning to watch, because it's really well shot, would look great on Blu-ray. So you got people watching these shitty quality versions of films.
Absolutely, but it does have a legitimate release, and everyone should get out and buy it.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, it's in stores now.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to add about the film before we move on?
I don't know. Is there anything you want to add about the film, about CSV?
Man, I don't know. See it at we're launching it on the 27th, so if that's... We're hearing this before then.
The chocolate strawberry vanilla launch.
With Surf
for
Wing
Wing. Which we're really excited about, because it's so cool to have our film alongside the Wing Wing film. That's great. What I'll say is I hope people can go get it. The Blu-ray copy and the DVD have some really cool special features. Short film from Stu.
Cool.
A commentary we did that was a bit of a laugh, a few interviews and stuff. So there's some stuff to get on the DVD as well.
I've sort of been a thorn in Stuart's side about the Dark Psychosis thing that he was doing for a while. I really want to see that come around.
Yeah.
That's not on there though. That's not the short on there though, is it?
No, it's
the Baby Did a Bat thing with Glenn.
And you're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Another making use of the head
Yeah, actually, that's
Value for money from the head.
Yeah, there's a moment in that Baby Did a Bad thing where the bat comes out of Aston's head. It's the exact same head from the head. Way to keep using the same thing you've got.
And
So,
now it's on your mantelpiece.
It is. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's frightening small children. Again.
And no sooner has Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla been released, along comes Kaleidoscope. Tell us about that.
This is a long time. We've been making this film for a long time. We announced that the film was 2 days from being shot at the last Monster Fest. We were 2 days away, which had turned into about a week. But we finished the film, finished shooting the film at the start of January of this year.
Yeah.
And it's just been editing the entire time. So it's just been, living in a cave, eating baked beans, becoming like the person in the film. No bangers. Yeah, that's it. No bangers. But
what is the film about?
The film is about his name's Caleb Loomis, and he is an agoraphobic 23-year-old who's been stuck in his apartment for about 5 years. And basically, he's got a few mates that come around really to get over the boring sort of mundane elements of what he's got, of his disease that he has. He makes these sort of crappy science fiction films with cardboard boxes, and he takes a bunch of LSD, and then one day he starts hearing his neighbour, who's a woman, and she's being abused. She's in a domestic abuse relationship with Aston here. and basically, without spoiling it, it's about Caleb essentially trying to overcome his fear of leaving the apartment and also trying to help this new friend that he has. So it's kind of it's a sort of psychedelic thriller, like friendship movie.
Sure. And where did this inspiration come from to write it? Was it in your head for a long time?
No, not really. What happened was I went through right around the time Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla was written. I finished 3 scripts just before Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla. I had heard that Park Chan-wook had made he'd written Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance in a 24-hour period, just one 24-hour period, written that film. And when I saw the film, I was completely blown away by that and thought it was that's so inspiring. So I kind of wanted to do the same thing. So I did write a feature film in about 14 hours.
Wow.
Just a feature script, just kept going. Don't stop. And then, you got one draft and you keep going, fixing it. And then I'd written that, I'd given that to Stuart. That was one of the ones that was looking like me and Stu were going to make. And while that was happening, I thought I've got to write my own thing. I've got to sort of do, and it really came from I started rewatching a bit of David Lynch films, and I watched Blue Velvet, and I thought, that's kind of a cool movie to almost use as a kick-off point, where it's someone sort of seemingly innocent person being put into a world that's just nothing like what they're used to. And then and I wanted to do something psychedelic, so I wanted to do something with effects and lighting, and use lighting, like practical lighting, as a way to get things.
And tell us about stepping into the director's shoes. From a writer's perspective, it's your first directorial.
Well, this one I'd written. I wrote Chocolate Strawberry, Under a Kaleidoscope without really thinking about directing it. Just wrote it, and then the more I sort of started to read it and develop it, I was like, I have to do this one. It actually feels sort of personal in a way.
Yeah.
It was, I've made some short films in the past, and really coming straight off Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla and seeing the way that was made just helped adapt what I thought was really good about the way that movie was shot and try to use that in my own. So it was just learning.
You're probably running on the same adrenaline too, just coming straight off it.
Yeah, literally went straight from Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla straight into this. It was there was a music video in between that I did with Aston, and then we went straight into Under a Kaleidoscope. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Jasmine, how did you become involved, and what was your involvement with the film?
Well, me and Addison have been together for quite some time now, and I had always kind of watched his practice with filmmaking, writing, and I kind of found my place when I said, let's just do it.
Yeah.
We had seen Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, and we're like, well, we've learned something now, let's just give it a crack. And if we set the bar pretty high, you never know what we could actually do. And that was sort of the beginning, and then the challenge was actually doing it, of course. And
well, it was a pretty good crack, I must say.
It was tough work.
It was really difficult, but we, again, you write in the things that you already have. Ways to keep, we had an apartment that we could use. So we thought, brilliant.
And look, you did the production design, I believe, and it was really beautiful and really elaborate. How did you pull that together in such a small space and make it look as eclectic and trippy as you could without elaborate special effects?
Well, we've wanted to focus mainly on practical effects, so I had known that from the get-go. So I tried to design everything about the film around that idea of practical effects. So we actually built a replica of part of the apartment and the next door's apartment as well. So that was on a set, but then we had location as well. So we were shooting Kenji's scenes in both. And it was, a bit sort of messy like that, but we actually filmed a lot of the effects scenes also in the apartment. So you could have shot it in any other room, but it was actually still shot in the apartment. So a lot of the thing I refer to as, like, we MacGyvered a lot. So whenever there was a problem, it was like, find a solution.
Yeah, like definitely going into, like, me and Jess had like certain ideas of things that we thought would be kind of interesting imagery, things to put in our triangles. One thing we thought.
I was going to say, with the production design, you had like the curtains and you had the bed sheets, and it was all very much shapes and different things happening. It was all, and the colours, colours and shapes of these things that were just not sort of household items, but
you try. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, that really comes from sort of a lot of 70s psychedelic poster design that you see. Like my favourite poster for the Holy Mountain is this beautiful triangle image. And I just thought there's something about it. I don't know, the triangle imagery I really sort of liked, and we talked about that, and we really like one thing that was really heavily discussed on Glasgow were colour palettes that are used for the film. That was something we took really seriously. So when it's psychedelic, these are the colours that we can use. We can't use any others because they won't work with the rest of the film. And then, during the day when we're outside, we really stuck strictly to a colour sort of design. And just, kept working within that, really,
That also stems back from Parker Chandler. We watched a lot of his special features on Old Boy, and looking at the detail that his design team goes, it was just inspiring, because it was like, there is so much you can get through with the visual language, and that's what...
Definitely, and Old Boy's a good one to compare it to, because you one location for the most part.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why you have to start to become. You've got to try to be a bit more creative when it is like that, because it can be so easily get boring. If you're stuck in one place, it can get boring. So we thought, as long as we have these sort of subtle things that are throughout the film that sort of tie it all together as like there's like a visual tie-in to everything. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Just wanted to touch on, I don't know if it was a deliberate sort of influence, but was there a Hitchcock influence to it? Because it kind of like Vertigo meets Rear Window. And you even had the Hitchcock box set near the TV as well.
Actually really happy you said that, because that was the first... When we were trying to to go back to all the producer stuff, but we were trying to get producers on board, and I got told by a producer really early that the best way to pitch a film is to come in and say, for example, I'm looking at your posters, it's Godzilla meets The Conjuring. You can come in saying that. That somebody, they've got two visual baits. So I kind of, with Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, I always kind of talked like, when me and Stu first talked about it, it was almost like, it could be like Taxi Driver if it was done by Wes Anderson, or, if you do like a... And with this one, it was, psychedelic Rear Window. I said I want it to be a movie that deals, like, we can have heaps of fun with psychedelics, but essentially Rear Window was the kick-off point, that somebody's having something happen and they can't do anything about it. And it's about doing something.
I'm really, really disappointed I didn't pick up on that, being that I'm such a Rear Window fan. I'm sorry about that. It's far out. Like, when you said it, I clicked. I'm like, oh shit.
I tapped Danny and I said to Danny, there's the Hitchcock box. I wonder if that's...
I saw that.
must be in there because of this whole other thing.
Man, I'm so stupid sometimes.
I'm trying to look at the other DVDs and Blu-rays. I go, is there something else I'm missing? Is there something? There's another visual cue.
I just get focusing on the Clint Eastwood boxes.
Well, I looked at, in saying that though, when we actually got to shooting and editing the film, like definitely for me the biggest influence was Sean Sono's films. I love the way his films are cut together. I love the way that they feel sort of beautifully tragic in a way. There'll be moments of beauty, but then they can be instantly ripped away from you. There's something terrible will happen. That's gut-wrenching to watch. And he was a huge influence on this, massive influence.
All right, can you tell us about the cast? I mean, it's actually a really, really strong cast once again.
Oh, thank you.
With some massively standout performances.
Aston, you're terrifying again.
Yeah, jeez, man.
We got to get some break, I think.
It's almost like...
I saw you and I'm like, this is the hardest guy alive.
Again, Kaleidoscope was written before Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, so it wasn't actually written with Aston in mind, but then as soon as I saw Aston on set, I was like, yeah, of course.
Yes.
He definitely is going to play this role, and it will be great. We auditioned for Caleb, so we auditioned for about 3 days for Caleb. We had a bunch of people come in, a bunch of young, great actors came in. Kenji came in, and of course, I have this sort of not semi-obsession, full obsession with Japanese cinema. So to have a Japanese actor come in and actually, that was something that instantly made, I'm really interested to see this guy. And then when he came in, he was the only guy who came in pajamas. Which I thought was so great. He came in pajamas. And I thought, good on you, man. Like, that takes balls. Like, the first time he's meeting me, and he's going to come in pajamas. Like, I dig that. And he just gave a really sincere, like... We made him do the moment. We made him do a scene where he's talking to the next door neighbour before they're actually really communicating. It's one of the first sort of moments where he sort of he unloads his life about to her while she's barely sort of communicating, and he just did it beautifully. So he was easy to cast. His brother is my best friend. The guy who plays Matt is my best friend Tim Wicks, who's Bagurki's chicken boy in Chocolate Strawberry. And I just
breakout role is fabulous.
Yeah, we love him, and you know, look, if you go, all I'll say is if you're going to write a 2-minute rap sequence, that he's your man.
Yes.
He's your man, because you know that's not easy to learn, and he learned it and did it. He did about 18 takes of it, and mostly ruined from me laughing. He just, I don't know, there's something about him, he appeals to my sense of humour. He's just a friend, and he makes me laugh probably more than a lot of other people. Damien, who plays Jeff, the acid dealer, came straight from Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla and just lifted him, because I love work. I was on set the day they filmed that and just hung out with him and just thought, great guy and really funny. And Kristen, who's amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
she really is. There's some really cool stuff there.
Basically, because the sort of heavy content of the film, I knew it required someone who had sort of been down that path before and done that, and I thought, I know that she'd done some of that heavier stuff, and she just really identified with the script, and we had a meeting, it was really good, and then she was excellent to work with. Like she blew.
Seems like a no-brainer. Yeah,
she was amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. And Aston, you really sink your teeth into these roles. Do you relish these characters?
Well,
or are they a struggle for you?
Oh, you sort of do in a way, but not really. Like, because it's confronting when you know that, and when you're working with people that you don't know really well. And it's certainly with Kristen, I didn't know her well when we got started, and there was sort of a view about how we would approach it, whether we'd get to know each other or whether we'd sort of go in blind and just rape her essentially. So that was difficult. I found that very difficult. Where my normal style around a set is to keep it pretty light and things like that. So I found when we filmed them themselves, it wasn't so bad, but then you do sort of get swept away in your own stuff and forget that it might be difficult for others. But I think it was always good enough that it was. But we're all very different, I think, like Kristen and Kenji and myself, and sort of how we approach what we did. But the amount of work that Kristen and Kenji put in, I was super impressed by, because it was essentially them for most of the film. Like, I was able to come in on certain days and we could do a lot of things while I was there. It was sort of quick and dirty and nasty.
Yeah, like the entire, that moment where it goes into his backstory, that entire thing was shot in about 1.5 days.
Oh, wow.
And that was just running from location to location.
Pretty much,
but I mean, like, the warehouse is where we also had the set, so we could just sort of move it over there.
Excellent.
Film that directly. Like, it was a lot of stuff like that was being done on this film, where you just cheat and get as many shots as you can, hope that people, I mean, we only ever had one sort of issue making the film, where we nearly had somebody call the cops on us, but we got out of there quickly. As soon as we saw that was happening, we were like, quickly film it and we'll just run away, and we got away with it. So that's good. But no, it was difficult, but heaps of fun to do, I thought. Yeah, heaps of fun to make.
It was a tight little group, like it was...
Yeah, much smaller crew on Kaleidoscope than there was on Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla. It wasn't as sourced as that. We probably ended up spending a similar amount of money. I think... we didn't spend $3,000 on a Mr. Whippy Van, but we did probably end up now, we've probably spent about $8,000 on the film. But yeah, it was, we had, I took people again from Chocolate Strip, like Sims, Simone. It's just, I love her. I got nothing but respect for her, and anyone who is making a film should be contacting her instantly to get as their
most definitely.
Yeah, she's amazing. Like, she'll do anything.
Super helpful and just knows
And
everything.
constantly on, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
If you put something out there saying, we might need this for the film, she's already spoken to 6 people who have it. And then she's just that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Chocolate Strawberry being so soon before, was like you could dip into that pool of resource. Like Chris Malone was the AD on Chocolate Strawberry.
Yeah, we made him Aston's son.
Well, it sounds like you would have struggled if you hadn't had Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla.
Definitely. I wouldn't have happened. I can completely acknowledge it wouldn't happen. A lot of it, and because we moved into it so quickly after Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, it was kind of like it was easy to say to the actors, okay, we've just done this, why don't you just quickly just come do this one?
And everyone loved that so much.
you know,
yeah.
And everyone wants to make a movie.
So
Of
much.
course, yeah. I mean, that's why everyone's doing it, because it's fun. So.
And like because we had such a small crew as well, like we would be multitasking, and like in doing that, everyone learned so many different skills as well, and it was just like really fun to do because a lot of the time you'll have one small role to do, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, we were so collaborative and
Yeah, I mean, we had a great
team
DOP shooting the film as well, Emma Matsuda, who is a VCA student. It's her first film that she's ever shot.
Wow, cool.
But I think she did an amazing job. And there was things like that. If it's my first film as a director, then I can't be picky if it's somebody else's first film. I got to let them come and prove themselves the same way I am. So, and I thought that it's a case of. We right time, right people sort of thing. We managed to just get people from CSV and anyone who wasn't, we just sourced them.
Well, the proof is in the pudding. It's a fantastic film.
Oh,
it is a really good film.
Yeah.
And look, we're going to move on to the next part.
Hang on.
You've got more. Hang on, sorry. Sorry.
In terms of like the music licensing, like Dave McCormack.
Yeah, Dave McCormack.
And the Custard. And that song, Park Suitcase, is one of my favourite Custard songs. And I couldn't believe that someone picked it up and put it in a film. Oh my God, the title credits come on, I'm like, oh, this is great already.
Oh, really happy to hear. You're actually the second person to tell me that, so I'm really happy to hear that. No, Dave was great. Dave is friends with Glenn Maynard.
Oh, cool.
So I'd had him on Facebook, and I loved that song, and I grew up loving Custard. So I just said, who owns the rights to some of the Custard songs? How are ways we can go around using them? And that was by, you use the version that we're using is a live version performed by the Polaroids and Dave McCormick, so we can get, it's not owned by the same company. So because we're using a live version and because it's that song, there were other songs we wanted to try to use that we couldn't get. Nah, he was unbelievable. I wrote him with the intention of, we can give you, in my mind thinking, we can give you a very small token of money just to try, and he was just like, if you can use it for free. That's like, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Respect for independent films.
Yeah. Now he's, that's true. Actually, Aston has not seen Under a Kaleidoscope yet.
You'll terrify yourself.
He was great. He was awesome. And that song I was really happy. Yeah, initially we had something completely different, and we sort of went over it again. It was, at first we had sort of like some old 50s UFO footage, and we were trying to do it in that angle, and I thought, it needs like a big colourful psychedelic explosion at the start, so we went with that other
Very
song.
cool.
And it works well, which I'm not going to spoil anything, but works well with the closing credits, and there's another track that comes on, and bright big lettering, and the use of
Definitely.
the very trippy colours throughout the film.
Yeah. No, awesome. Thanks, heaps.
No worries. Awesome.
That's all I won't hold us up.
Well, but my back is kind of turned towards, so I'm not sure if you have something else to say.
Yes.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on to some random trivia, shall we?
Random trivia.
Would you like to go first?
Okay, yeah, mine's really quick.
So's mine, so.
Okay, well, I'll quickly go then.
Do it in slow-mo?
So there's, the film Firestarter we spoke about in the first podcast.
You weren't a fan?
No, I rewatched it and I didn't like it. I've already sold the Blu-ray. But the score was by Tangerine Dream, who are currently touring Australia. They're doing the Sorcerer soundtrack live.
Yep.
And so they did the score to Firestarter, right? But this is the thing, they never actually saw the film. They just sent a bunch of music into Mark Lester, the director, and said, hey, you just choose some stuff and
that's it.
That's cool. And that's how the Tangerine Dream score for Firestarter.
They just really don't care.
They didn't care. 6 years later, it finally got released on CD and vinyl. It wasn't even available.
Are you a fan of that
purchase.
piece?
No, not really. I'm not a fan of
So
Firestarter.
if Tangerine Dream came and toured, if they toured with Firestarter.
No.
No.
Tossing up the Sorcerer, but falls on a bad night. But no.
Alright, cool.
I'll never watch that movie.
Well, mine's a really short piece of trivia. Blazing Saddles, the classic Mel Brooks film.
I was going to buy the 40th anniversary on Blu-ray this week, but I haven't.
No.
I'm still thinking
But
about
when you do, that can make your collection update.
Yeah, man.
Well, that was filmed in Westworld.
Right, what? Westworld is
The film,
Westworld.
yeah, the film
You rented
Westworld. That's right, same town, same set.
Wow.
Cool. So it would have been, right around the same time.
That's right.
Wow, I did not know that.
One movie moves on, the next one comes in.
Very cool.
So that's it.
There's probably heaps of other films filmed in there.
I reckon there would be. And we'll incorporate them to future episodes.
That'll be the next piece of
Maybe future pieces of
Yeah, that's right.
New segment.
Well, we haven't prepped anybody, but does anybody else have any random trivia they'd like to share?
No, I got donuts, so nothing springs to mind.
I'm trying to think.
That's alright.
I don't know.
Any?
No, I got nothing.
You're a big fan of Japanese
Yeah.
films. Anything there that you want to share?
Well, I've got something to talk about, but it'll come.
All right, cool. We'll get to that soon.
Later on. So,
All right, cool.
yeah.
Well, straight away we're going to move right on to our focus film of the week anyway, which is Black Rain by Ridley Scott.
A New York City cop on the trail of a killer. From the back alleys of Manhattan
Well, our victims are certainly Yakuza.
to the streets of Japan.
Because of your negligence, a man we wanted for a long time has been lost.
Now, come on, we'll take some of the heat for this, but we're not taking the rap.
Rap.
You see, there's a war going on here between Sato and an old-time boss named Sugai. And they don't take prisoners.
So where's your boss? What? This isn't New York. We have rules here.
I seen Sato's work, okay? He ain't following your program.
You are foreigners, nothing more than interested observers.
No one's gonna help a Kaijin.
Kaijin.
You're a barbarian, a foreigner. Me and you. More you.
Try to work like a Japanese.
Now, this is good. This ain't money. You got a counterfeiting war going on, guys.
You are civilians here. It is illegal for you to carry a gun.
Something tells me we should cut our losses and let the locals handle it around here.
I can't go back without him, Charlie.
Come on! He's getting away! I thought we were working together! The guy's getting away!
You have no part in this.
I am the solution to your problems. Well, it's not over yet.
Here I am, Nick!
We can get him, boss. You and me.
Michael Douglas, Black Rain.
So tell us a little bit about the Black Rain there, Glenn.
Well, Black Rain, it's a film by Ridley Scott, starring Michael Douglas and Andy Garcia, with Kate Capshaw as well. Michael Douglas plays a New York cop who is tasked with taking a Japanese criminal back to Japan, and the criminal escapes, and suddenly Michael Douglas finds himself caught up between the underworld of the triads and the police, and it's just you put me on the spot.
No, you did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you.
I was like,
Well, I did just watch it, so it's kind of fresh in my mind.
very
But
well.
let's talk about what we think of the film. I mean, I hadn't seen it in probably maybe 6 years, I suppose, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I remember enjoying it. It's an aesthetically beautiful film. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it myself. Look, I know everyone was talking so highly of it. No, I did not like it. And it's been about 10 years since I've seen it. I enjoyed it. I felt they could have lost about 20 minutes from it.
It's definitely too long.
If it had lost 20 minutes, it could have been so
And
much
it
fun.
sags in the middle, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, after Andy Garcia's death, there
Spoiler
are.
alert.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's alright.
It's like 20 years old. It's all good.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like there was. Yeah, you could have cut straight to sort of towards the end of the film. There's 20 minutes that could be gone from that film, in my opinion. But,
Definitely, but even when it lags, it's aesthetically so beautiful to look at. So it's really
yeah,
easy
it's
to sort
cool. Like it oozes cool as a film, and like the few things me and Jasmine were talking about that we really appreciated is that it's an Osaka story, which is really might not mean much to like if you haven't gone to Japan, but. The like Yakuza stories, it's sort of go-to make them in Tokyo, make them Shinjuku, Tokyo, the sort of home. But this was to make this an Osaka story, just made it stand out, made it different. I'm seeing a different side of Japan.
Yes.
So I really dug that. Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought that the visuals kind of were reminiscent of a bit of Seijin Suzuki as well. Just the way it was so beautifully set and lit as well. The colours, they were kind of washed.
And the sort of cool suit wearing Yakuza kind of vibe. Yeah, it had like a branded to kill vibe.
And it's always very dark, and there's lots of fluorescent colours reflecting, lots of rain, obviously it's called Black Rain, lots of wet streets, and that, as Aston pointed out, it's very Blade Runner in its sort of look, and Ridley Scott obviously sort of drew upon some influence there.
And it was brilliant.
Oh, that's weird. You know what I saw?
What?
Blade Runner, Black Rain.
That's lame trivia. Lame trivia.
It's
So
not even
that's
trivia.
no, but that's a new segment. Lame trivia.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Well, I've got plenty of that.
Cool. So, what else do you? I mean, there was a trouble production there. I believe that Ridley Scott was practically kicked out of Japan.
Yeah, I believe it's the laws in filming. It's even stricter than New York. So they were pretty much allocated certain time slots to do things. Anytime they'd run over, they'd pretty much have people stand in front of the camera and say, "No more shooting, no more shooting." Cinematographer, the original cinematographer who shot 3/4 of the film, can't remember his name. He's not credited as the cinematographer. No, Jean de Bont came along and shot the last quarter, but they can't give the credit to one cinematographer, so he took the credit for the film, and I think the other chap got like assistant photography or additional photography. But yeah, so it was a pretty tight shoot.
Yeah, that's a shame because it is so well shot. It's the type of thing that you'd love to have on your show.
Mind you can't really tell where they overlap.
No.
Surprised by
It's
that.
beautiful to look at. It was. I really dug it. I thought it was cool that sort of. I like the banter between Michael Douglas and Andy Garcia.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. It was sort of bit of a reminded me of older films, and
What an arrogant character he is too.
Well, that just shows the culture clash as well.
And it shows the time too. Like I remember watching. I saw it in the cinemas probably in '89.
Yeah, around about then.
And remember thinking of Michael Douglas as a really cool macho guy, and this time him really annoying me.
Yeah, there's nothing to like about him. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like we need Michael Douglas to save Japan.
Yes.
but then again, I suppose that is what's sort of cool and funny about it as well, because it is that kind of film where you need the brash hero, and
he has his hero moment. The thumbs up. That was classic.
that's good.
Just that needed the accompanied wink.
Yes.
I was hoping it would just freeze on it.
Yeah.
It would go up.
Or freeze on the bro shake, you know. Yes, no, we don't bow now. We do this.
Yeah, that would have been good.
That would
Like the Stallone one.
Yeah.
Jump in the air.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add to that one?
Well, Andy Garcia did have a good line when he was talking to Michael Douglas, and he was trying to tell Michael Douglas, you got to step up your style a bit. And he said to him, "It's all about the shoes. 80s ladies dig the shoes." And I'm thinking, it's 89. It's the end of the 80s. But anyway, that's
took me a while to think about it.
It was a smooth dresser though.
Maybe they filmed it a few years earlier.
I was wondering if he was on the tape because he was wearing good stuff all the time. And I was like, how's he affording? I know Michael Douglas had the alimony and whatnot, but
But let's talk about how cool is Andy Garcia.
Andy Garcia
was great.
What happened to Andy Garcia?
Well, he's still around.
I know he is. He popped up in something I watched recently in a really bit part, but I think his career kind of just.
Well, I know it's
died in
going
the
back like
mid-90s.
10 years, but he did the Ocean's films.
Oh yeah,
He was
the villain
he
in
was
those.
kind of the cool component of that. He was a very cool casino crime.
Yeah.
And he's still got that villain sort of capability in him too now, probably more than that good guy he was then.
That's it, yeah. Played the
that's
good
true.
side.
Maybe there's less of those roles, but
He's
like
got a great voice.
it was a reminder that he's really good. I reckon he was terrific.
Did anyone ever see that film Things to Do in Dead?
Yeah, when you
Yes.
It's an excellent film.
I actually love him most probably in Dead Again. Do you remember that one? The Kenneth Branagh film?
Yeah, the Kenneth Branagh one.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good twist.
Yeah,
and
great
I haven't
film,
seen it for
though.
years. Great film.
There's another focus film for us.
I want to see that again,
cool.
definitely.
Alright, cool. I reckon we've tapped that one out.
Totally.
Awesome. So we're moving on to Guilty Pleasures, our favourite segment. So, would you like to go first, or do you want me to throw that one out there?
I'll let you go first.
Alright, well, my Guilty Pleasure film, and I always bang on about I'm not guilty about any films. I've got no shame, if you love something, you love something. But I am actually kind of guilty about this one, because if you go to every message board online, it's probably the most hated film, particularly amongst film geeks. And we're talking about Highlander 5, The Source.
I never saw
Never
it.
saw it. Oh, there you go. The response I'm getting right now says it all.
Wasn't that episode 3 of the television series?
Well, interestingly, a lot of the cast from the TV series comes back, but number 5 is a complete departure from the rest. It's directed by Brett Leonard, the guy that made Lawnmower Man and Virtuosity. He's like best friends with Jack Thompson's son, and they made the movie Feed and Man Thing.
Oh, I like Feed.
Yeah, Feed's really cool.
Yeah,
was Feed the Aussie one?
Yeah. And so he's behind the source. It's the most highly conceptually stylized of the lot.
Right.
It takes place in the future, which is what I like about it, is that it takes place sort of hundreds of years in the future. Highlanders are immortal, so that's a story that's been untapped in the series up until this point. But people hate it because it kind of they say it changes the mythos, or but every single film in the franchise does that. Like The Quickening, Russell Mulcahy's sequel, was one of the most hated films at the time. So
The Quickening, which was the way of sewing heads back on there.
Pretty much. Well, they came from the planet Zeiss. Do you remember? They changed the whole concept that they're now aliens. They're not actually of Earth. And then he did a director's cut 15 years later, a Renegade cut, and that's cool. That's very cool.
I still haven't
It
watched
takes
that.
a bad film, makes it good.
Yeah, because that was a horrible movie, The Quickening. I was so disappointed.
Oh, but the Renegade cut's great.
I haven't watched it yet. I've got time waiting there.
Watch it, and then watch the documentary about it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a big commitment.
He had his
I probably
film.
will do it.
He had his film taken
That's
away
good, I'll
from
do
him.
it.
It was taken away from him, recut, so he had a chance to put it back together. So, but anyway, Highlander 5. I'm going to probably cop a lot of shit for it because if you go anywhere online, it's hated with a passion. 0 rating everywhere you go.
I didn't even realise they made it.
But it looks so good.
I had no idea.
Heaps of it's done on green screen, and some cool shots that are out in the wilderness where they're running, and the camera's tracking with them. But there's also a green screen that guys are actually holding and running alongside them. So the green screen's following them as they go, and they've inserted some really cool, whizzy stuff. It's very cool.
What year was that?
That was only 2005.
Right,
maybe
okay,
around about then.
Wow.
But it's largely forgotten. There's actually a producer's cut, a Russian cut, and a theatrical cut.
Holy dooly.
Yeah. So, but no one cares. So we'll move on to yours.
Alright, well I think people will care even less about this
Awesome.
one, but I dare say more people will have seen it. The film is Johnny Mnemonic from 1995.
I love this film.
Right, okay, because I felt it was a guilty pleasure. I rewatched it this week, first time in many, many years. I didn't enjoy it as much as I used to, but I still enjoyed it.
It's like the prelude to the Matrix, really.
Yeah. Like a shit Matrix.
Yeah.
Henry Rollins. But no, okay, so I'm just going to go through a quick
Matrix
synopsis
64.
You've got Johnny, Keanu Reeves, who's essentially a courier. Only the goods he carries between the sender and receiver are in his head. So in addition to being a courier, Johnny's also a portable hard drive, but his storage capacity is only 160 gig, which is on par with the biggest Apple iPod Classic that was ever released on the market. So he gets a job and it's promised to pay an amount of money that can get him out of this industry forever. He takes it, and with it, he takes on 320 gigs of data. Now, before you say, how can Johnny carry 320 gigs of data when you already stated that his max capacity is 160 gig? Remember, it's 2021. More than likely, there's a fancier compression software on the market this time. And besides, this is a Keanu Reeves movie. Okay, so moving on. There are some issues with carrying such excessive data, and that's everything from headaches, blackouts, amnesia to potential lobotomized state. Johnny has the data, everyone wants the data. Johnny wants to get the data out of his head, and everyone's just as happy to have Johnny's head. There's actually a really good bit with Takashi. Who's it? Takashi? Who's the actor? It's the actor from Outrage and Boiling Point.
Takeshi Kitano.
Yeah. A great bit where he says, "You can't shoot me." And he was, "Not in the head."
That German Japanese.
I don't want to dwell on the plot of it for too long.
Thank
to
you.
do so would do it a great injustice, I feel.
We do appreciate
It's based on a novel by the famed cyberpunk author William Gibson. He was also responsible for writing the screenplay, though it's hard to believe that he's could be blamed for the awful dialogue. But I believe this is another film that studio was ripped out of the hands of the director, because the director only directed one film, this film.
Right.
And William Gibson, he worked on the screenplay. Apparently they wanted to make the film initially for about $1 million, and they couldn't find anyone to put $1 million into it, but Sony said, we'll put $30 million into it, but we want final say, and they turned it into what it was. So...
I don't think it's that bad.
No, look, I'm not saying it's terrible or anything. It's got Dolph Lundgren in there as a street preacher. And it's a memorable role. He has biblical quotes.
Hang on, it's a memorable... I was about to say, I don't remember that.
So good in this movie.
Has he got long hair?
Well, he's wearing a cape for most of it. He does. There's something going on with the hair.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't recall. I'm going to watch it.
I wasn't
again.
wearing my glasses when we were watching
My son
it.
would love that film, so I'll watch it.
But he has, he does biblical quotes.
Right.
And one of the quotes he has when he walks into this bar after, there's been a bit of a biffo and everything else, end of night, he says, they stumble in judgment, for all the tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. And lines are like that, and you're like...
Is that an actual quote from the Bible?
That's the quote from the Bible.
Yeah.
I Googled it. I Googled it to say it was in
Well, that Last Supper was a messy affair, I can tell you.
Henry Rollins in it. And Henry Rollins is really good in it. It's one of the first films he did.
Well, Henry
It's great
Rollins was
it.
in Hardware, which is another post-apocalyptic kind of thing.
There's a few rockers in that one. Iggy Pop's in there as well.
Well, actually, no, maybe Henry Rollins wasn't in that. No, it was from Motorhead. Lemmy.
Oh no, Lemmy. Yeah, Lemmy. Who else you got in there? Yugi Kia doing the same kind of character he always plays, and you've got Ice-T in another role that Ice-T was born not to play. I don't know if I've liked him in any movies. Aside from the aforementioned cast, you've got virtual reality, a tech dolphin wired up to computers to communicate with Keanu Reeves, and a line of dialogue that says, "We're going out with a big bang, get your VCRs ready, because we've got what you need," which was perhaps a bit of a prophecy given the recent VHS revival.
Yes.
So I
worth
like
a fortune too, you know.
Johnny Mnemonic is effectively the opposite of a good film, but you can sure have a good time watching it, and I sure as hell did. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Bravo.
Again, they could have cut about 20 minutes out of it.
Could have been a good short film.
Yeah, totally. Johnny Mnemonic.
And a stupid name, it's a hard one to grasp, especially when it's written.
The pronunciation's really tough. I just keep saying it fast enough, so...
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're moving around the table. Have we got any more guilty pleasures?
I'm with you on that though, Glenn, what you were saying before, that it's hard for me to come up. I was talking to Jared about this as well. It's hard for me to... I'm not guilty about anything like that.
Sure.
It's really difficult. And I had ones that I was thinking that I'm guilty about because they'll have a little bit of animal cruelty in them, and that's why I'm guilty, because I like the film, and I don't think that that's a fun one to go for, so I'm going for one that is by all means the worst film ever made, in my opinion anyway, but it's endlessly enjoyable. It is Corey Feldman's one and only directorial film, Busted.
Jared and I have been on about Corey all week.
He only just came up before you came over.
So I chose Busted because it's incredibly sexist. It's a film, and that's why I think I feel guilty about it, because it is a movie that feels like it's quite sexist. The best way to describe it is, I think it's the opposite of The Room. In the way that The Room is a movie that was to be taken seriously and everybody found it funny, whereas Busted is to be funny, but I can't help but watch it like it's a train wreck. And it's just, I don't laugh during the film, but there's something...
Internally, maybe.
Yeah, there's something fun about watching, I think Corey Feldman is trying so hard in this film to keep it together, but he's just not very funny.
And isn't there a cameo from Haim as well?
There is a cameo. Yeah, basically what happened with that is Haim was signed on to do the whole film, but was going through a bit, obviously, some drug problems, and he would just stop showing up. So they basically got one of Corey Feldman's other friends, who is the guy living in the halfway home who gets axed at the start of Friday the 13th Part 5. Remember, he gets axed by...
Yes.
Yeah, at the start, he's eating a chocolate bar, and he said, "You want my chocolate bar?"
Yes.
Just fucking axed it, just out of nowhere. It's crazy. He ended up taking a lot of Corey Haim's lines in that film, and it's got Julie Strain in it. It's got all these people. They're just trying to do everything. They're trying to throw so many sight gags at you constantly. It's a movie that tries to be funny every minute and is not funny for and it's endlessly enjoyable to watch.
And it's in some random Payless double tap
with the willies.
With the willies.
That's a course.
And that was another one I was even considering. But I like the willies. I'm not guilty of
with the most shameless Goonies references ever.
Miller's in the Willies too. It's the janitor, I'm pretty sure.
Who was that?
Dick Miller. I think.
Was he really?
This is the janitor.
Is that the one with the kid who eats the flies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the janitor ends up ripping his head off.
And of course, Sean
Astin.
Yeah.
That's
a good film, though.
I probably have that double package somewhere.
Yeah. That's how I saw Busted.
Wow.
It was from that double
nice.
pack. And,
nice.
Yeah, just as soon as I saw it, I thought, nah.
Mate, definitely qualifies for a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
All right, cool. I was worried about that, but yeah.
Right, well, let's move on. Let's ask him what it is.
I'm worried about mine, but you had it on the wall, so I don't know if that helps. Mine is Joe Dirt.
Oh, I love Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt, starring David Spade. I'm not exactly sure of the year. But yeah, it must have been
2001.
Yes,
I reckon even earlier. Is it only that?
Yeah, Brandy.
I think I was working in the movie.
Brandy was one of the key things. Brandy's Joe Dirt's love interest, but essentially Joe Dirt is a story of a young white trash boy born to a poor family with a skull that hasn't properly fused at birth. So to hide the shame or whatever, his parents put a mullet wig on him. Then his skull fuses and he's left wearing the wig for the rest of his life.
You've made it sound so much better than the movie.
No,
guilty telling's amazing.
I won't have that. I will not have that.
It's not a bad movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a great, and the thing is, I never liked. Christopher Walken's his great friend. Fred Ward, who's in another one of my guilty pleasures, Tremors, with Kevin Bacon. plays his actual father. I can't remember who plays the mother, but they dump him at the Grand Canyon when he's a child. But he somehow makes his way on his own to the point where he's working as a janitor in a radio station where he ends up telling his story online.
To Larry Miller? Or is it?
Yeah, someone like that. I can't remember. And,
Dennis Miller?
Dennis Miller, yeah.
And eventually the word gets out to Brandy, the girl that he always thought that he wasn't good enough for, because Kid Rock,
That's right, Kid Rock, doing doughies.
He wasn't good enough for Brandy, and he was going to marry Brandy. And to a beautiful ending where he ends up with an actual family. His mate Kick and Wing, who was the Indian guy.
That's right. The firecracker guy, yeah.
Brandy obviously gets together with Christopher Walken, who takes over
and gets an erection.
Yes, that's right. The father figure in his life after nearly having sex with the woman he thought was his sister. Which is another
this is gold.
And then in the end they solve all his problems by finally being able to remove the mullet wig, but replacing it with a Rasta one.
Yes. But I think one of the great moments in cinema history is when he meets a hobo who says, "Home is where you make it," and Jojo's like, "I got a dude. You want to see homos naked?" Great moment. Great moment.
Yeah, and it won me on David Spade.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I've liked that many of his other films that much. I saw a bit of his stand-up the other day.
The stuff he did with Chris Farley was pretty great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Very undervalued in those days,
Yeah, Joe Dirt.
Fantastic. I love that you brought that.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's a great septic tank moment. I could go on about this forever. Sorry.
He was eating off that thing.
That's right. The meteorite. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, we're going to watch it, man.
That's a peanut.
That's a peanut. Alright, so it's between us and myself here. Carry on. We'll move around. Jasmine, what have you brought to the table?
Okay, well, my film that I've chosen is from the 90s, but I must say I only watched it in the last year, and since I first watched it, I've watched it 3 times, and every time by myself. So this is saying something about how I feel about it. It is Twin Sitters with the Barbarian brothers.
Oh my!
Heard of it? I never saw it.
Yes. So I heard about it through Addison.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Twin Sitters. Yes, I am.
And so I'd never seen it as a kid, and so I watched it one day when he was at work because I was too guilty to make him watch it again with me. And yeah, so basically these meathead twins decide over a 5-minute conversation that they should start a restaurant, of course. They go to a bank, can't get funding, surprisingly, because they're dressed like morons, let's just say that. So if you're a fan of wrestling fashion, that is one to watch. Basically, they're in the crossfire at a children's park where this sort of mafia underground stuff goes on, and they basically have to look after these set of twins because they're like the nastiest kids ever, and they mean a lot to this kingpin guy. And basically, it's unfunnier than John Travolta. It's just like, the dialogue is terrible, and of course, they're not very good actors to begin with. It is just a hot mess.
And did this get multiple viewings?
Yes, I've watched it 3 times.
Nice.
And the thing is, too, I don't really enjoy it, and I don't actually laugh at it. I don't know what it is. I think it's just 90s nostalgia. I love those kind of bad movies.
Like it's a comfort film.
Straight to VHS sort of films, yeah.
Well, I only
That's a
saw
great
that
choice,
once.
Actually, yeah.
I saw that once on VHS, so I can't remember a lot about
Don't watch
it.
it again.
I will now you said it, though.
It's incredibly embarrassing. It's the type of thing where,
The fact that they're wrestlers and, like, the action is terrible. Like, if you put me in that film, I might have a better shot at
But George Lazenby's actually in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's not surprising, really.
Yeah, no, it
He's the best part, must say.
he's probably the best one.
And what else have those two been in?
They had...
Is it called Double Trouble?
Yeah, I think...
They weren't the 2 guys in Natural Born Killers, were they?
They are, but in a deleted scene.
Yes,
yeah.
okay, that's the guys I know.
But they did an action movie that was basically a rip-off of Van Damme's one.
Double Impact.
Yeah, but it was called like their one's Double Trouble or something.
You can't go wrong with trouble in the name.
Yeah, basically, I was thinking about choosing Double Impact, but then I realised, no, I actually fucking love that.
Well, there's a lot of people that follow Fake Champ that love Double Impact and everything Van Damme.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Van Damme movies. No hint of irony in that.
Absolutely.
I
love him.
I think if you watch you can watch any Van Damme movie after you watch JCVD, I think.
Yeah,
of course.
Definitely.
Once you see that, like, it's like...
That monologue in that,
Yeah.
that film
It's
is just
amazing.
It's one of the most beautiful.
gobsmacking.
That was one of
Yeah.
the best moments for me in a film
Yep.
that year, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because it's heart wrenching and it's honest,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even feel like it's scripted. It feels like it's just him letting it all
And
out.
he
fantastic.
he literally elevates out of the film. Like,
Yeah,
yes.
no, and that was an excellent film.
Yep.
I loved that.
Loved it.
That
Same
came
here.
out of nowhere and just.
Yep. And he sort of, it's very self-referential and, you know, he really takes a piss out of himself at the same
Yeah,
time.
hilarious how isn't it early in the film they're saying, they're not going to go with you, they're going with Steven
Yeah.
Seagal. He's
Yeah.
agreed
That's
to
right.
cut the ponytail. Ponytail?
Oh, cool. There's some awesome choices on the table right there.
Ah, cool.
Absolutely. So let's move on from guilty pleasures to obscure films.
Yes.
I'll take this one again.
Yeah.
My obscure film is a film called The Last Mimsy. Have you ever heard or seen it? No? Directed by Robert Shea from New Line.
I think you may have told me about
Only
this.
film he's ever directed. He's the big head honcho of New Line
Hang on,
Cinemas.
this is the only film he directed?
Only film he's directed, I believe. I could be wrong, but
No,
I'm
no.
pretty certain.
Produced a lot of films.
It's a kids film, and it's probably the smartest, most intelligent kids film I've seen in a long time. The premise of it is a brother and sister. They're about 7 or 8 years old. They find a box washed up on the beach, and it contains a strange toy rabbit and some kind of gizmo, and they don't know what the gizmo is. But essentially, what they don't know they've got is the key to saving a future civilization from an ecological disaster. Right. So it's a time travel piece. It's got some amazing performances. It's very scary for kids, but I like kids films that are scary, challenges kids. And it's got Rainn Wilson in it, and it's a really strong cast and a very smart film, and I reckon everyone should try and find it.
What year was it?
Probably like late 2000, so 2008 maybe.
Right, okay,
So
cool.
it's fairly recent, to be honest.
Right, yeah, that's cool. He waited a long time to direct a film, but it sounds like
And it's just a film that really challenges kids. I love, my two favourite kinds of genres are horror and family films, and a family film that can really challenge kids and sort of give them something to grasp on and sort of become resilient with, you know. I don't think you should, hide kids from these kind of things, and this one really challenges adults as well as kids, so very cool, you should look into it.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
Check it out. Okay, my film's from 1974. It's called Phase 4. You heard about this film?
Rings a bell, but
Okay,
it's not clicking,
Let me give you a synopsis and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the film.
Go for it.
So, set out in the Arizona desert, you've got two scientists who are researching changes in the behavioural activity of ants. This particular colony of ants have been building unusual structures and are displaying a higher than average intelligence. Amidst their investigation, the scientists meet the last remaining residents in town, a family who refuse to be run out of town by insects. That bravado is quickly crushed when the ants literally eat them out of house and home. In their escape, the family run off-road and then themselves are partially gobbled up by the ants. The youngest member of the family, a female in her early 20s, manages to break away. She then joins the two scientists, and together they attempt to work out how they can defeat the ants and survive. Now it sounds like Empire the Ants or Them or something like that.
Or the pilot episode of MacGyver.
These aren't giant ants. We're talking just normal ants, right? Just normal ants, but something weird is going on. It's directed by renowned graphic designer Saul Bass, who was responsible for the opening titles to such classics as Psycho, Spartacus, West Side Story, Aliens, Big, Casino. Casino, I think, was one of the last ones he did, and that was incredible. 1974 film. Sadly, his only feature film directing credit, though it's worth mentioning he did direct a number of short films, both fiction and non-fiction, of which one won the Best Short Documentary Academy Award at the 1968 Oscars. And it received predominantly negative reviews when it was released theatrically. Commercial failure, which no doubt explains why, or part of the reason it's probably his only directional film. Then there's, of course, studio interference, which I've got to bring in, which is always a part. This seems to be a recurring motif in our discussions. And that's the best 4 minutes of the feature were actually removed from the film prior to its theatrical release. And those 4 minutes are from the film's finale. They're like visually stunning and add a unique abstract, add to the unique abstract manner in which the stories are told. Because it's a very different way of storytelling. It feels a bit more like the radio player of War of the Worlds or something. It's just very different. I didn't love this movie, but I really liked what they went for, and
it sounds right up my alley.
Oh, you'll dig it.
Yeah.
And I was telling a friend at work who hates every film ever made. I said there's something in this for you, even if you turn the volume down, just watch the visuals, or even if you turn the video off and you just listen to the sound.
How can you resist
There's
it?
something else.
You know,
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So I was going to mention it's described as a thinking man's science fiction film, but I'd go as far as to say it's a thinking man's B movie. At the end of the day, the very nature of the subject matter is that of a B movie. It's essentially eco-horror meets creature feature, come dystopian fantasy. And yeah, I just mentioned it before. I won't say I loved it, but its visual style with its microcosmos like cinematography, stunning and well ahead of its time.
Really?
I didn't even know they could do that back in that
you have to lend this to me.
And beautiful compositions that are enhanced in post-production with really detailed matting. And you can tell it's Saul Bass, like it visually looks like it's done. Yeah, an obscure thing that I had not heard of until I read about it earlier this year. Then a friend at work said to me, I just watched this movie, Faceful. I'm like, I read about that movie.
It's my favourite thing about this podcast is when the obscure titles come out, we learn new movies that we have to see. I'm going to check them out.
And 4 minutes that I mentioned, we watched the film, and as it were, the original theatrical cut, and then I read about this other ending. They found the other ending in an archive in 2012. So, like almost 30 years later, and now it's up on YouTube. Someone's uploaded it. They just sneakily filmed it at a museum screening. So I saw those 4 minutes, and I'm like, ridiculous. You cut 4 minutes out of it? This is amazing. But anyway, Phase 4, check it out.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
No problem.
Awesome, I definitely will. So let's move on and start to wrap things up a little bit. Let's just mention the next episode we do is actually a special edition. It's our Pune Party podcast. Pune Party. I've been doing the Albert Pune retrospective throughout the year, so we're going to bring it all to a close, go out with a bang. We're going to have a whole lot of people over, Addison, you are included, filmmakers, fans and whatnot. We're going to throw a party, and it's an all-in podcast. We'll watch 3 films, which will be voted on by those invited.
Alien from LA, I believe.
That's amongst the ones that's decided.
I really want to watch that.
I think Nemesis is etching the lead.
I could watch that again in a heartbeat.
In Nemesis?
It's
awesome.
So much fun.
The Blu-ray's beautiful, yes.
Skeleton, exoskeleton hanging off a helicopter.
I saw a bit of footage from from a Nemesis film.
Yep.
One of the cyborgs, I think, punches an old lady to death.
That'd be the first one because
that's not right at the beginning.
Yeah, and
so
you've
when
got
they're falling through the.
You've got the old lady with the machine gun and
So
There
good.
was a little video I saw. There was just
it's fantastic,
thing.
and it's a really good. It's a really good, not companion, but it's sort of it goes alongside Terminator 2 really well. It's sort of what a big studio does with that material, and what sort of a small studio does. So the Pune Party's coming up on the next episode. With Christmas fast approaching, we'll be dusting off a few Christmas classics and talking about some of those in the coming weeks. And that's pretty much all we've got for this week.
Yeah.
You got anything to add?
Just that we've been filming a lot of stuff. We've got some stuff coming up on the YouTube. There'll be plenty of content from Monster Fest. So keep an eye on the YouTube.
Brilliant. I believe this podcast will be up on YouTube.
Yes, it will.
Fantastic. Did everyone remember that we're being filmed?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's wrap up. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Fantastic. It's been awesome. Everyone should get out, check out both films, Chocolate, Strawberry, Vanilla and Under a Kaleidoscope. And that is us for the week. Thank you, Jarrett.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Aston. Thank you, Addison.
Thanks, Jarrett.
All right. See you next time.
Guys.